Welcome to our Nordic Peak Season 2025 coffee chat. Today we'll explore peak in the Nordics while we are in the middle of it. Demand is still concentrated around November and December, but play out a bit differently between each country. Peak season is without a doubt the most demanding, most revealing month and days of the year for both e-commerce retailers and logistics companies. Why does this matter? Because the way consumers shop and choose delivery during peak seasons tells us why exactly where demand is heading, where the pressure points are, and where the biggest opportunities lie for 2026. Today, we'll break down what really happened in 2025 across Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, and what those trends mean for how you plan, operate, and deliver next year. We got 4 people with us today from the front lines in Nordics. Me, Roman, focusing on Finland, Åsmund focusing on Norway, Antoine focusing on Sweden, and Emil focusing on Denmark. Let's jump in. Okay, first question for the Nordic panel. What's the peak season insight from your country? Let's start with Norway.
Yeah, so looking at Norway, there are quite a few interesting insights. We can start with Bring, that has reported an 11% increase in the number of e-com shipments during Black Week 2025. And they are also expecting the weeks up until Christmas to be even more busy than last year. In addition to this, which I found really interesting, is that 35% of shoppers in Norway prefer home delivery. And I think this definitely, highlights the importance of convenient last mile solutions. If we take a look at our own data, we are seeing an overall increase in shipping volumes in the Nordics in the weeks leading up to Black Week. And I think these data reflects a very interesting trend. So I would say before, most of the shopping was really concentrated, on Black Week or even on Black Friday. But now we see that Norwegian consumers and of course also the retailers, they are spreading out the peak shopping season more. But of course, the largest spikes still happen during Black Week and the weeks after. And as said, Norwegians are increasingly opting for home delivery. I would say that this is something retailers, they really need to take this into consideration when planning both promotional strategies, fulfillment processes, and of course, delivery options during peak season.
That's very interesting, actually, Osman. In Sweden, we saw that Sveabank has communicated on an increase in e-commerce sales during November of about 9%. But the decline over Black Week is of 6.5%. So we see that in our own statistics at nShift, actually, that we see the same trend. And what this tells us is that consumers are spreading their purchases across the entire month rather than just concentrating them on Black Week.
For sure.
Shoppers, they seem to be responding more to early and long-running November promotions, like a Black Month kind of promotions. While traditional high-intensity Black Week or Black Friday campaigns or even Cyber Monday are losing some of their impact as people take more time to compare prices, avoid stress, and kind of just shop on their own terms. Just like in Norway, as you pointed out, Åsmund, Sweden is also a very home delivery oriented country. 32% of consumers prefer home delivery. Really shows the importance of convenient last mile solutions if you really want to meet the expectations of your consumers. Generally, the data really highlights a clear trend in Sweden. There are consumers that are buying earlier in the month and increasingly relying on home delivery, which online retailers need to take into account when thinking about their marketing timing, their fulfillment operations, and everything around the peak season.
We look at Denmark, the numbers that we got from payment provider mobile pay and the carriers DAO and GLS, it shows both an increase in in e-commerce payments and also in shipments across Black Month and Black Week, while we see a small increase of just about 5% in sales on Black Friday. And this data shows that the Danish e-commerce market is stabilizing at a higher level. The 10% growth in online payments and volumes during Black Month and during Black Week also suggest a broader sustained consumer confidence in the market. While the more modest 5% increase in Black Friday also shows that, like in Sweden and Norway, Danish consumers likes to spread out the purchases across the whole of the month instead of just focusing on this one single day of buying.
Yeah, that does make sense, Emil. And also with regards to Finland, Prisjakt reported that 43% of Finns plan to shop during Black Friday. Whether this is true or not is yet to be seen. But from what data we already have, we did see that there is an increase in shipping volumes during Black Week at 7% and at 9% during Black Friday itself. A more modest increase in shipments was seen across all Nordics during Black Month. For retailers, the data shows that Finnish shoppers focus their purchases on Black Week and Black Friday rather than spreading it across the whole month. This highlights the need to prepare for peak days with sufficient stocks and logistics capacity, while extended promotions may drive only modest increase in volumes. When it comes to delivery preferences, 37% of Finns prefer parcel lockers, reinforcing the country's strong adoption of convenient self-service delivery options, something for retailers to take note of. Let's zoom out and talk about what these trends mean at a Nordic level. Åsmund, starting with Norway, it looks like Norwegian shoppers still peak during Black Week and the week after. How does this compare to the other countries?
We still do see the biggest spikes during Black Week, and consumers are increasingly choosing home delivery. What it means is that retailers really need to be ready for these peak days, and we're talking like both in terms of stock, obviously, but also for the logistics.
Very interesting that Åsmund, in Sweden, I would say we're seeing consumers spreading their purchases. We mentioned it earlier, but they're spreading it over Black Month, over November, and not just on Black Week. And yeah, generally people are taking more time to compare prices and to respond to early promotions, which means that Swedish retailers need to focus on sustaining campaigns throughout the month rather than concentrating all efforts on one high intensity week.
Well, yeah, in that regard, Denmark is quite similar to Sweden. Shoppers in Denmark are really spreading out their purchases across the whole of the month, not just Black Friday, which, well, the number speaks for itself, that a 10% growth across the month in both payments and shipments compared to the 5% on growth on Black Friday. So yeah, customers are really spreading it out, and if we also look again at the preferred pickup options, customers really prefer flexibility in the way they shop today during this peak season. Because, well, in Denmark we like flexibility, and we like getting the packages to us at our speed.
Finland seems closer to Norway, right? Concentrated peaks rather than spreading out.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Finnish consumers, they still focus on Black Week and Black Friday itself. So we see that the volumes, they rise sharply on those days. So super important that retailers have enough stock and also the logistics capacity ready for the peak.
So if we look across the Nordics, the big takeaway is timing varies by country. Early spread out promotions work in Sweden and Denmark, while Finland and Norway require peak day readiness.
Yeah, and also in terms of delivery options, this matters across the board. Home delivery, as mentioned before by Åsmund and Antoine, is very important in Norway and Sweden, while Denmark and Finland, we have taken a higher adoption to pickup points and parcel lockers, where, well, this flexible last mile solution is very essential.
Yeah, and overall, e-commerce is growing everywhere, just at different paces. Retailers need to understand each market shopping rhythm, plan campaigns accordingly, and make sure fulfillment and delivery options meet local preferences, I would say.
Exactly. And I think that timing, stock, and definitely, and I don't think we can emphasize this enough, delivery flexibility is the Norwegian recipe for a peak season success.
Yeah, and I mean, the earlier the retailer starts planning with these insights, the better they can capture the opportunities across really all 4 markets.
Perfect. That really sums it up. Know your market, adapt campaigns to local behavior, and provide delivery experience consumers expect. For logistics and retailers, this means basically earlier load planning. Warehouses and carriers need to handle rising volume weeks in advance, especially in Denmark and Sweden. Scalability in systems and processes is key, and something to be particularly aware of: high spikes concentrating during Black Week and Friday in Finland and Norway. One other point would be earlier staffing. Temporary labor and operational resources should be deployed sooner to meet increased demand. And I would say, lastly but not leastly, earlier deal activation. Promotions need to start before the traditional Black Week. This is both to meet the early peak season shoppers, but also a way of leveling out pressure to avoid delivery bottlenecks or stock shortages. Another clear theme is that the Nordic consumers don't behave the same when it comes to delivery choices.
Oh, I completely agree. So in Denmark, well, Denmark is the pickup capital. As the figures show, 45% of Danish consumers prefer pickup spots or parcel lockers, and our infrastructure is really supporting it more and more each day.
Yeah, I hear you. Finland leans heavily into lockers at 37%, meaning this is a must for online checkout for Finnish retailers.
Yeah, and as we saw with Norway, so Norway is almost the opposite. 35% want home delivery. And I think partly due to a very challenging geography, but definitely also due to expectations for convenience.
And if we look at Sweden, it's very similar to Norway and just behind with 32% of home delivery. So when you're thinking about cross-border sellers and selling over the Nordic region, it's really not one size fits all, and it needs to be adapted for each country.
Yeah, so basically this means that tailoring last mile offering by country and even by region is certainly a competitive advantage for retailers. Now we've seen how shopping behavior and growth varied across Nordics during peak season of 2025. The next step is turning these insights into operational and technology actions that help retailers handle peak efficiency. If we start with you, Åsmund, what is your recommendation?
I would say, for starters, I think improving carrier capacity forecasting is one of the keys. So I would say use the historical peak season data, track promotion calendars, and try to predict order waves by day or even by hours. And that would let retailers adjust capacity in advance. and avoid these bottlenecks that leads to dissatisfied customers and chaos in your storage.
Yeah, Åsmund, I would add to that, really important to have a dynamic delivery promise that updates. It's a great tool for you and for your consumers. For example, offering delivery options based on the customer's location and basket and adjusting in real time. If lockers or carriers are full, for example, it helps really ensure a smoother fulfillment, no surprises. Everyone knows what to expect before anything could happen. Also, in the period leading up to the peak or peak season, what can be a big advantage is to have A/B testing. That way, you know what is preferred among your consumers, and it really helps you to find the optimal checkout setup, whether it be for better conversion, better revenue, higher basket value. So all these things can be optimized with the A/B testing. Finally, just extending a bit. Expected delivery times during peak is also a way to enhance the customer experience. Most customers don't mind waiting a little more if they just know that the delivery time is set in advance, and they know that it's going to be maybe instead of three days, it'll be 5. But at least they know, they're aware. I think communication in that sense, and accurate communication is the most important. No one wants to expect a delivery time and then get a delay. That's the most frustrating.
Yeah. To add to that, I will also say real-time delivery updates also make a huge difference today. Well, they reduce failed delivery by improving first attempt successes, giving customers a feeling of transparency, and also lowering the where's my order questions and tickets. Well, and they also make the delivery process feel transparent and trustworthy for the end customer.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, automatic returns can help control rising parcel volumes, optimizing the path parcels take back to store, warehouse, or consolidation center, while digitalizing labels, tracking, refunds, and warehouse handling ensures efficiency and visibility.
Yeah, and I would say, put together, these operational and technology steps not only handle the peak load, but I would also say, like, much more importantly, it improves the overall customer experience. And it makes the delivery and the returns much more reliable, but also much more predictable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that wraps up our Nordic peak season coffee chat. Thanks everyone for watching as we explore Black Month week and Friday itself and the trends that will be shaping delivery peak in 2026. With smart deliveries, management tools, retailers can turn peak season into competitive advantage. See you next year. Let's chop it. 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 Let's chop it.